This young, exciting roster. You think about a generational player in Caitlin Clark and back-to-back Rookie of the Years with Aaliyah Boston. Kelsey Mitchell, I think, had the best year of her career. Yeah, I spoke with Caitlin last night, and I think just overall excitement. You know, I have been watching Caitlin play since she was an 8th grader when I was coaching at the college realm. And
The former coach of the Connecticut Sun, Stephanie White, didn't just walk away quietly. She practically told the world that her old team was a circus of dirty tactics. Yes, she's leaving the Sun to join Clark's squad, and the taunts she's throwing are real. We're talking about a coach publicly acknowledging that her own team played rougher than a demolition derby. Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark just lit up the WNBA headlines with a bombshell so big it might overshadow any drama from this entire season.
For me, having been a part of the WNBA for 25 years, having worked on both sides of it in the media and in the coaching realm, and being a player in this league as well. I mean, this is the moment that we've been waiting for.
Alyssa Thomas and Carrington, the so-called stars of the Sun, are now being criticized for being at the center of this catastrophe. We never anticipated the spectacle in which Clark and White are here to burn them in front of everyone.
And just embrace this moment, embrace this opportunity, continue to help this team, this franchise be better, position ourselves for success.
The coach who finally pulled the Fever out of the trash and into their first playoffs since 2016 was abruptly fired. So if you're still wondering why Stephanie White would want to coach the Fever and where in the world did Christy Sides go, let's just say you may have been living under a rock for a while. Yes, you heard that right. She's out despite pulling off what looked like a miraculous turnaround, and this decision has sparked an absolute frenzy. Half the fan base is clutching their pearls, calling it unfair and downright ridiculous after all sides brought this franchise a glimmer of hope after years of looking like a perennial punchline. But the other half, they're not exactly throwing a pity party. They think this is a bold, necessary gamble, demanding more than just a feel-good comeback story. They're thirsty for greatness, not mediocrity. It's just a unique opportunity, and I'm so thankful and grateful for it. So, what led the Fever to drop the axe on sides? Let's dig into the real dirt here. Sure, she managed a playoff run, but her coaching record wasn't exactly spotless. Her defensive schemes were about as sturdy as wet tissue paper, leaving the Fever looking helpless whenever opponents decided to turn up the heat. We're talking endless holes in the rotation, wide open shots, and the kind of defensive breakdowns that make fans want to scream into a pillow. And don't even get me started on her player management.
It's just a unique opportunity, and I'm so thankful and grateful for it.
In terms of making in-game adjustments, the rotations were a complete shambles, with starters being exhausted at the worst conceivable times and reserve players being moved out of position like someone pulling names out of a hat. Yes, she added much-needed relevancy to the Fever, but when you're going for the top, you don't settle for merely decent. If the opposition team threw a wrench in the game plan, sides didn't seem to have a backup plan.
When I was coaching at the college realm and covering her games in college, and just an exciting time for me. Very excited to be working with her and this young team.
Enter Stephanie White. The basketball community is aflutter like it's draft day, and for good reason. White isn't just a random selection. She's essentially royalty. She coached the team, played for them, and even led them to the WNBA Finals in 2015. So yes, she is more familiar with this franchise than most people are, as are her roots. Go beyond a competition that dates back decades. But let's not merely focus on the past. Even with all that glittering success, not everyone believed that White was the magic fix. The WNBA has changed into a league of blistering speed and tactical mastery, and there is a camp. White's recent coaching resume reads like an all-star highlight reel. During her time with the Connecticut Sun, she achieved an incredible 5,525 record over 2 seasons and even won the 2023 WNBA Coach of the Year. Speculating that perhaps White's traditional methods might not hold up, is she prepared to adapt to this unrelenting new pace, or will she become one of those coaches mired in the past? This is a high-stakes gamble where both White's legacy and the future of the Fever are at stake.
She's a lot better, number 22. She puts the ball in the hole a lot more. But I just can't wait. She's a student of the game.
Yeah.
She loves the game of basketball. She has been so great in how she's handled all of the attention. She just wants to play. She just wants to win.
You may not disagree with me that Caitlin Clark's rookie season was so incredible that even WNBA legends had to pay attention and believe me when I say that it's not hyperbole. In 2024, she led the entire WNBA in assists, which is an incredible accomplishment for any player, much less a rookie. If you thought that was impressive, wait, she recorded several triple-doubles as though they were unofficial weekend plans. By the end of the season, she had established herself firmly among the elite, and being named the 2024 Rookie of the Year felt more like an official coronation than an award. And Stephanie White, a coach whose name is almost etched in the history books of the sport.
And it just shows you that professional sports is a tough business. I mean, Sides was the coach of a team that got to the playoffs for the first time since 2016. Was the coach of the team that turned around from a rough 1-8 start. Was the coach of a team that dealt with.
When news broke that White, with her amazing coaching skills, might reunite with Clark on the Fever's bench, the internet went crazy, and for good reason. This isn't just a story about wins and losses. It's about a connection that feels almost mythical. White had been a fan of Clark for a long time, even before most people could even spell her name. Back when she was covering Big Ten college games, she watched Clark work her magic and couldn't stop singing her praises. She wasn't just a casual admirer of Clark's game. She was an early believer, pointing out her jaw-dropping vision and uncanny basketball IQ.
Feels like the Fever believe they need a new voice on the sideline in order to get to that next step, to that championship level, which they're not playing around.
And speaking of connections, there's a poetic twist that's hard to overlook. Stephanie White was the first player to wear the iconic number 22 jersey for the Fever when the team was still figuring itself out. Fast forward to the present, and Caitlin Clark may be the last player to wear that number before it's unavoidably retired. It's a full-circle moment, so perfect that it could make a Hollywood screenwriter jealous. The fans of the Fever are already wondering if this magical connection between White and Clark is the key to turning the team from merely making playoff appearances to actually competing for a championship. Is it fate, a masterstroke, or perhaps a combination of both? Whatever it is, the stakes couldn't be higher.
First person that Caitlin Clark spoke to was Stephanie White. Now, Stephanie White has covered Caitlin's games as a part of the broadcast for Big Ten and was very complimentary of Caitlin Clark. So again, if Christy Sides maybe wasn't the right fit, if this indeed is a move to activate and get more from Caitlin Clark, then Stephanie White is likely at the top of the list.
The drama behind the scenes is more compelling than a soap opera, so don't get too caught up in the pleasant feelings of this possible reunion. When Christy Sides got her pink slip, there were rumors that Stephanie White was circling like a shark ready to pounce. She reportedly expressed an immediate interest in coaching Clark's team, and let's face it, this timing isn't coincidental. Seeing White make a bina for the Fever after her tremendously successful tenure with the Connecticut Sun aroused some questions. Was it solely a professional move, or did her long-standing adoration for Clark play a part? Either way, it's a curious move.
It's exciting. Certainly I was born and raised in Indiana, and so have a lot of pride in Indiana basketball, and a lot of pride in the Fever organization, being a player and a coach there. And it's exciting what's happening with the organization and where they are. I mean, most organizations have their ups and downs, certainly.
However, this is where things become complicated. There were challenges during White's time at the Connecticut Sun. One incident still has fans talking. During a particularly heated game, a Sun player made an unsportsmanlike move that was about as subtle as a sledgehammer. Fans expected White to defend Clark and perhaps even throw some well-deserved shade at the dirty play, but White did nothing at all. Her silence was deafening, and critics wasted no time questioning her loyalty. Was she trying to keep the peace, or did she simply not care enough to take a stand? In sports, silence can make a bigger statement than words, and White's lack of action left many feeling sour.
But I'm proud of the growth of the Indiana Fever. Excited, about the future of the Indiana Fever.
It's up for debate whether White's decision to remain silent actually helped her. On the one hand, it might have been a calculated move to keep the drama from getting out of control and to keep everyone's attention on the team. On the other hand, It could have hurt her reputation by making her appear distant and unwilling to support her players when it mattered. This is a classic case of perception versus reality. What does Fever management think of all this? As White ISA returned to Indiana, they undoubtedly looked at every possible angle. Will her past controversies haunt her, or will her calm demeanor be the ideal fit for this young, talented roster with Clark as the centerpiece? The sky is high. There is no doubt that the Fever is playing for keeps, and White's next move could either spark a new round of discussion or establish the tone for a new era.